Good day. It is February 8th. These are comments to the Oversight Subcommittee of Ways and Means on the hearing with the National Taxpayer Advocate on challenges facing taxpayers. I urge you to submit written questions. I'm going to provide them in the instrument providing both the comments for the record and the links to this video. I urge you to either include them in the written questions to the taxpayer advocate or to follow-up questions. Question one, what's the advisability of using support contractors both for hotline and for audit services? There are many revenue agents working in the private sector who are up to this task, and they're working for the other side, as well as top-flight federal contractors who do hotlines, who do customer service calls, who can answer simple questions, make payment arrangements, or make an appointment to talk to a revenue agent for their complex questions, because that would be better than having customer service people do difficult tax questions. You can have senior retired people who are expert at understanding tax law, and having them work for the light side. The next thing is the next subject is Build Back Better. The IRS can help meet these challenges as well, especially regarding people calling because their direct payments have stopped from the IRS. For parents, hopefully the IRS will not have to handle inquiries for long about this, because Build Back Better should pass. The child tax credit should actually be the focus. Certain matters, although they're important, can wait for a larger Senate majority. Let's not overreach, or even a larger House majority. But the CTC being permanent and using the pay-fors being permanent is really vital. It takes the uncertainty out of tax policy for families. And it's also anti-abortion legislation. So the Catholic bishops should be urged to take this in the strongest possible language, to make increasing the child tax credit a pro-life issue for a pro-life perfect voting record. People pride themselves on that in the Republican Party, and they should be pressured to pass Build Back Better as pro-life. And then maybe a future reconciliation can find some money in a more appropriate place than a tax reform on the wealthy, maybe a general value carbon added tax, or other taxes, more broadly based, and you could actually make CTC a more broadly based tax instead of having the wealthy pay for it. There's a lot of ways to do it, but it should be done. The stink of welfare should be taken out. The way to do that is to, instead of having employers collect taxes on people's income, which will eventually be given back either through a direct payment from the IRS, or at the end of the year, or both. That's what's happening now, or was happening with the American Rescue Plan Act. So the employers collect it, they send it to the IRS sends it back to the employees. Instead of having the employers just give it to the employees as higher wages, and then not paying as large a quarterly tax to the IRS or a monthly tax, however their arrangements are. It just makes sense. It's a less of a leaky bucket. Too many cooks spoil the tax benefit, and that can be done. And you can ask the taxpayer advocate what advantages there would be for her workload and the IRS's workload if they did it that way. This would be a good question. Now, for middle income taxpayers, this is already occurring. If they've got 3 kids or more, it changes. Or even if they don't have 3 kids, they can change their withholding. And a lot of them do. I did when my child was born. They changed probably too much because then I owed or we owed. You can change your withholding to so that you don't owe a lot of taxes and you don't pay a lot of taxes. Get a large check at the end of the month, and to pay taxes, employers get their payroll lines of credit, and instead of sending the money to the IRS, they just give it to the employees. It doesn't change their bottom line at all. And in fact, the people with higher incomes would, especially if it's broader based, would pay less in taxes, less than it's being proposed now. Because if you're using a broad-based subtraction VAT to provide these benefits, it doesn't come out of the high wage earners as much. Certain things would, but if it's mixed in as a tax that everybody pays, or that employers pay from their bottom line, you can have lower tax rates, or tax rates going different places, like to balance the budget. So even the employer, the rich people on staff, would not have to pay as much in their taxes as well. So, it's a win-win for everybody. To fund poorer people, to fund the EIT, the Earned Income Tax Credit, and to fund any refundable tax credit, which isn't that expensive anyway. And you can decrease welfare because of it. Food stamps would be lower. You can turn TANF into a educational program and have the states do that, and pay people to go. ESL should be paid. But you can ask the taxpayer advocate about savings in their office and in the IRS from shifting to a net business receipts tax. In fact, some employers would have negative quarterly tax bills, and they would then take money from their invoice VAT to subsidize any refund they would get from the subtraction VAT. Now, minimum wage would also make negative quarterly tax bills less likely, because people would have more money and they get it from their customers, and their workers would buy more because they spend everything, especially the lower wage workers and the workers that would get benefit up the line. They buy more, there's more business, there's more volume. Because the thing is, companies make decisions on who to staff and how much to staff based on volume and throughput needs. They don't do it based on as much on what the wage is. They'll try to pay the lowest wage possible, regardless of the business of volume, but they will add staff or cut staff from low wage to high wage based on their contracts or the number of people going to the theater, buying food, et cetera, et cetera. You staff for workload. You don't staff for price. There is no way, if somebody's got teenagers working for $2 an hour, there's nothing to do, and so they're standing around just because there's a low wage. They're not going to keep those teenagers there. They're going to send them home. Doesn't matter what the wage is. So there's that. I've attached a version of our tax reform plan. I've also attached a version on how tax administration would be impacted by the tax reform plan. Both will be linked to in the comments. Again, you can post them as additional comments on the hearing page from next Tuesday, or the links will be down here. Depends on how much you want to make it easy. Making having staff find it, and only staff find it, is not good Sunshine Act policy, even though the committee's not bound by the Sunshine Act. But yeah, I don't recall that they are anyway. But it's getting these ideas out there. Let's both parties, take a taste and see whether they like it, because there's something in this plan for both parties. Never have I met a Republican who didn't like the idea of telling people they should never have to pay taxes again. With the exception of Dick Armey. So, thank you much for your time, and good morning.